Good morning and welcome to this sixth issue of the Coffee with the Webinar series. I hope you've been able to join us for some of the past sessions where we've heard from various IA award winners. Really interesting to hear about their stories and how they got into the irrigation industry and what they've done to deserve these awards. If you haven't been able to, you can always go to the Irrigation Association's YouTube page, where we have all of the recordings there for you to watch. We'll also have this session on YouTube in the next several days for you to watch as well. But we're really excited to welcome John Newlin, the incoming president-elect of the Irrigation Association this morning, where we're going to hear a bit about his story and how he got involved in the industry, how he got involved in the Irrigation Association, ultimately becoming our next president of the Irrigation Association in 2022. I'm also going to be joined by the IA current president, Brian Winan, as well as Deborah Hamlin, the CEO of the Irrigation Association, where we'll hear about some details about the Irrigation Show, which is just over a month away in San Diego, and all of the plans that are being done to prepare for that. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome John Newlin, Brian Winan, and Deborah Hamlin to the screen. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to you, Deborah, to start off so we can hear about the Irrigation Show and all that's going on there. So Deborah, please take it away.
Fantastic. Thanks for the introduction, Coleman, and nice to see you, Brian and John. Thanks for everyone for joining us today. We are in that last final lap of getting ready for our irrigation show in San Diego, December 6th through 9th. I always have to take a look at my notes. The trade show is actually on the 8th and the 9th. We are expecting an excellent crowd there. As you can imagine, when we're planning any show, we look at our history and see how many people have attended in the past and compare it to where we are now. And we are at 90% of our attendees at this time not last year, but the last 3-year average. So I'm really excited. Our classes and our exams, I think because we've been away from in-person for so long, our classes and exams are over 100% of where they were. The only downside is we've got some international attendees, traditional international attendees who will not be able to make it because, of course, the restrictions are not being lifted until middle of November for those people traveling to the US. But it's going to be a really strong North American trade show, and I'm really excited about it. So hope that everyone watching will come there and see us in person.
Great. And Deborah, I think you also have, for those who haven't heard, an announcement to make about yourself.
Well, some may have received this notice already. We did send out an email blast back in July, or maybe it was August, that I am retiring at the end of the year. And after 15 years at the IA, which has been really wonderful, I'm taking a much needed break. So I am being very supportive of this search committee. And by the way, John Newlin is chair of the search committee, and helping them to find the best replacement they can for me. I want them to have someone who's better than I've been, and I want to watch this organization continue to prosper and grow.
Great. And John, as you mentioned, you're on the search committee or heading the search committee. I'm not sure which. But for folks curious about where things stand with Deborah having just under 2 months left at IA, is there anything you can kind of tell the folks in the audience about where the search committee's work is?
Yeah, we've been very, very fortunate. We've had 21 people actually apply for the position, and we've got it right now down to 13, and we have another meeting Wednesday to whittle that list down a little further before we actually start interviewing. And we will be interviewing starting the following week. Hopefully we're going to have this wrapped up before the show. Our goal is the week after Thanksgiving to have a job offer on the board, and we'll see what comes of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if we can get that person to say yes, then we are going to hopefully get them on a plane and bring them to San Diego.
I know folks.
Show.
Yeah. I know folks in the audience are probably curious. I know I'm personally curious on the IA staff to know who the new CEO will be. But it's really great to hear that there's excitement for the position, folks applying, and hopefully we got some really good candidates and hope to meet that person, in just over a month. God, that show's coming up quick. So that's kind of just the quick IA update and what's happening internally and with the irrigation show coming up. But the main point of this session is to introduce you, the Irrigation Association members, to the incoming president-elect, John Newlin. So I will now turn it over to the current IA president, Brian Winan, to kind of take things from here.
Well, thank you, Coleman. And thanks for that update on the show, Deborah. I appreciate it. And John, the update on the CEO search. That's quite an undertaking, and we appreciate you and the entire team's effort in getting that done, and certainly look forward to the future CEO and candidate. But I do want to take a moment here, John, just to welcome you to this interview. We've been friends now for about 8 years since we came to the board together, and you've been a great friend and a colleague. And I just want to say, I don't think there's anybody more deserving who's been at the ground level at the industry than yourself in doing this, because most people who are listening in right now should recognize you from whether it's an IA show, teaching a seminar, doing a session. You've been a great volunteer for the organization, and I really appreciate this opportunity to be able to talk to you today with people watching. And we'll try not to mention any of the stuff that we've learned about each other over the past 8 years. So anyway, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Because some of us, like myself, my dad was in the irrigation industry, and I really had only one path to go, and that was following Dad. You chose this industry, and so I'd like to hear a little bit about your past, and how did you choose the irrigation industry?
Well, I'll start with a little bit about myself. I'm an irrigation contractor in Cleveland, Ohio. I have a CLT, the CIC, and the CLA as certifications. I've been married for 21 years to Elaine, 2 adult children, Claire and Patrick is working in the business now. And as far as how I got to where I am today, it was a long trail. When I actually was in high school, I knew I wanted to be a farmer. I knew it. It's what I wanted to be. Didn't work out. And I went from the family farm in Kokomo, Indiana, to the oil fields in Texas, to working for Schneider National Carrier as a supervisor at night at a very large maintenance facility in the Cleveland area. And a good friend of mine that I actually went to grade school and college with, Greg Ott, asked me to help him install a sprinkling system. And that's how it all really got started. I had too much time on my hands working for Schneider. I wasn't married at the time, and I was working 4 12-hour days, and those other 3 days of the week I had to do something, and I was helping him. So that's kind of how I accidentally got into it. And it was by chance that happened. I am definitely somebody that has a workaholic personality. There's no doubt about that. Not recovering. I actually, the reason I got involved with the Irrigation Association was because of my training issues that I struggle and still struggle with, and the ideas I had come up with to solve some of the problems. I sat down with Scott Knowles of Wolf Creek and went through everything with Scott, and Scott pointed me in the direction of Brett Meekum. And that was the next day I made that phone call, and that's how I got started. It was all about training. It was all about trying to figure out what the best way was, and how I could pull resources together to make that all happen for my organization and share with others too as well.
John, tell me a little more about, you were helping your friend put in a sprinkler system, and ironically, it's the same thing my father was doing. He was working at a lawn and garden center, and they sold sprinkler parts, and he was helping people on the weekend, again, probably a workaholic like some of us are. You know, and eventually thought, wow, this is kind of an industry to get into. You had to take another step eventually. So when you were installing one for a friend, how did it snowball into a full company like you have today?
Oh, it got out of control. It was totally out of control. Like I said, I was supervisor at night. I had 40 mechanics under me at Schneider National Carrier at night. And that kept me really busy. But like I say, I was working 412s, and I had to find something to do with myself on those other days, not being married and needing something. And so it just kind of fit. I'm mechanically inclined. I'm not afraid of physical labor. I like working in the dirt, and it just all kind of clicked. Right time, right place kind of thing. And Greg, my buddy, he and I have been around together since the 4th grade. So it just worked. And it got bigger than me, and Greg didn't want to get any bigger in it, and I didn't know when to say stop. And so it got to the point where I had to choose between Schneider and going full time. And by this time, Elaine came into the picture, and it was a pure leap of faith on Elaine's part. We got married, and here I am full time in a business that I just started. Had actually been into it for probably at least 5 years on a part-time basis, but to jump in and with 2 kids and Elaine, it was a leap of faith on both of us. It worked. We made it work.
Hey.
Sounds like it worked out very well. So, John, you mentioned your time, and you've done a lot with the Irrigation Association. I mean, every time I'm trying to find you at a show, John's teaching this, or John's doing this session, or John's judging the new product contest. What have you seen and especially now in these 8 years that you've been on the board, what are the big changes that you've seen with the Irrigation Association over your time?
Well, you know, I've seen a lot, but it's been accelerated since COVID, you know, with the webinars and online classes that the staff has put together, with the absence of the show and face-to-face classes, the staff put that together. What an awesome job that was. How that all came together. It was just great. Webinars, the certified irrigation contractors. Oh my gosh, that's the one that's where I started this whole journey with, was wanting that piece specifically in place and the training behind it. And we're still to this day working on that. But I really feel that the CIT is probably one of the biggest. We've been matured, you know, overall, I would say we have matured in the 8-10 years that I've been around. We've matured as an organization, and this stuff is a result of that maturing process. And
well, John, I can't agree with you more. I know I took the CIC. I think it took 8 hours of 16 hours, 2 8-hour classes I took first, took the math refresher, and I'd been in the irrigation industry for 30 plus years at that point, and I still learned a lot taking the CIC. I couldn't agree with you more that that's a great test to take. And then couldn't go any further with the fact that the CIT is a great place to start. So if any of the viewers out there are listening to us, see us want to get started with certification, the CIT is a great place to start, and then see where you want to go from there. So that's definitely something I agree 100% with you on. But you talk about your time with the IA. I know you've taught sessions, you've helped probably write different things. We've been in a couple fly-ins, I think, together, Government Affairs Committee. what's been the most enjoyable for you, other than working with me on the board? I'm sure that's probably the most, but other than that, what's the most enjoyable that you've had?
Contractor Common Interest Group. That's where I kind of cut my teeth, and I really got a lot out of that. Networking with other contractors, seeing what their business model was all about, and understanding that all of us have a little bit different business model, and there's nothing wrong with that.
And John, you might want to lead into this, because I know, and we can talk maybe a little bit about this unless Deborah shakes her head, but hell, she's gone in a month anyway. So tell us a bit about maybe a little bit about the mentoring program that we're looking at doing at the IA.
Oh yeah, that is an upcoming program that we're going to be launching hopefully at the show. And this is with Chris Keating. This is not a John Newlin thing. I am just pushing it as hard as I can. And Chris is doing, and staff are doing a wonderful job on that. But what it amounts to is that we're going to offer to our members, our contract members, landscape contract members today, a program where they come up, they have a problem that they may need help with, whether it be marketing, financial, billing, whatever it might be. And they just feel like they need another set of eyes on it. We've got this program put together that we can pair up an industry expert with a contractor, providing him with free mentoring up to a certain point. And then when we realize that, you know, it may be 4 or 8 hours of mentoring, after that, what we'll do is if this person needs some more help, we'll refer him on to hopefully another consultant that is within our irrigation family, and provide a value to both the contractor and to the consultant. So I'm looking at this as a win-win. And like I say, Chris Keaton is doing just an outstanding job with this whole thing.
John, I think that's great for the contractors. I know back in this might sound like a long time ago, the early or late 80s, you know, we struggled, and I was a contractor here in northern Indiana, not far from your hometown of Kokomo. But you know, we did bring in a consultant, and it did amazing things for us. But it was biting that bullet, where the mentoring program is going to allow people to kind of get a taste of what it's like to get some advice and realize how much it can do for their company, and then allow them to grow their companies in a more professional manner, as you have with Quality Irrigation.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're really excited about this, and hopefully we're going to take this to another level totally, and provide this for our folks in ag. We're hoping for a 6-month, after about 6 months of doing this, we're hoping that we can also provide the same thing to the folks in ag.
That's going to be fantastic. That's going to be fantastic. John, we've heard a little bit about your working career. We've heard about how you grew up and managed to kind of stumble into the irrigation business through a friend of yours that needed a system installed. But there's got to be something you do outside of work. I know you're a workaholic, so there's got to be something out there that you do besides irrigation. And tell us a little bit about that part of John Newlin.
I enjoy traveling with Elaine, and Elaine and I try to take advantage of opportunities of traveling within our irrigation community. But of course, because of course for business reasons, we can swing that, and we really enjoy that. Just like the various manufacturers trips, any opportunity I get to go to DC, Elaine and I are pointed in the right direction from staff, and they tell us what is the latest and greatest in DC, and we go take a peek. Also, I do enjoy fishing, but that's a time thing, and John doesn't always get that time that he would like to be able to do that. I enjoy taking classes online. I've been really getting into that, audiobooks, and I read a lot as well. I'm not a fiction guy, as some people here may know. I am a fact and not fiction kind of guy. And I enjoy history and business. That's what I pretty much stay with, is my wheelhouse. That's about it.
Not going to tell us about your bourbon collection that you have at home?
No.
Oh. Some of us may want to come over one day and sample some of it.
That's why we're not gonna go there.
So you mentioned that you were at Snyder watching over 40 mechanics, which we all know that's got to be a tough job, especially at night. If you wouldn't have done that, or if you wouldn't have been in the oil fields, or if you farming, you picked irrigation. If it wouldn't have been irrigation, what do you think you would have ended up doing, John?
Oh, it'd been farming. No, hands down. Hands down.
Yeah. And earlier we talked to a lot of people who were involved in farming that won the awards earlier in some of our interviews. So what kind of family farm did you grow up on, or what had you in farming when you were doing it?
They were primarily, because they're now all retired, and primarily hogs, but now they do some crops, but they're much smaller scale just because of age.
Yeah.
But
Now,
I do livestock.
yeah. So now I got to ask the question. You're going to take over from, a president that's excelled as an irrigation association president, big shoes to fill. What are your goals as the president of the irrigation association?
First and foremost is work and help with our new CEO that's going to be replacing Deborah. That probably 6 months ago, I didn't think that was happening, but 2 months from now, it will be happening. So that's probably the largest single one. We talked about the mentoring program. I'm really gonna do all I can for Chris and the folks that are involved in that, his committee that's working that process through, and workforce development. We gotta start that back up in full steam ahead, because as we all know, what's holding back our industry today more than anything is labor, and we have to do all we can do in that area is workforce development.
Yes, I know you're right. And, as the person who just happened to be president this year, and I know John Topham before me, we can't help but to thank you and all the other board members to help us through probably one of the more difficult times that the Irrigation Association went through, especially financially, with not having to be able to have our show last year. And, Deborah and her staff were very instrumental in helping us with budget cuts and making changes, and even made an office move. And John, there were a lot of decisions that you helped make with the board and help get through this most difficult time. So with this great show that's coming up in San Diego, a new CEO, there's a lot of a bright future for the IA, and I know you're going to do a great job as a president leading us forward in this.
Yep, I will do everything in my power to make that. We're also going to have an educational task force to put together a strategic plan, and Scott Knowles is going to be in charge of that committee.
That's great. Scott will be really great at that.
So folks, we do actually have a question from the audience. And it's not necessarily for John Newlin, but you're happy to chime in if you have additional perspective to provide. But what ag programs, if any, are the IA considering for connecting newer companies and technologies to farmers and suppliers, thus improving water use in the industry, and how can we promote those technologies?
I can actually answer that question if you'd like, John. I think it's a good question. And one of the things maybe we should have mentioned in this call is I'm really proud to be sitting here with 2 landscape contractors. And this is in the history of the organization. There have only been 4 landscape contractors as president of this organization. And these past 2 years, we'll have 2 back to back. The balance of the executive committee is agriculture. So if those of you are watching wondering where agriculture fits in this picture, they'll just be on these Zoom calls in the future. So we do have John Topham with an ag dealer in California, Randy Wood, president of Lindsay, and Inge Bisconer, who is a longtime Toro employee with Micro Drip, and she is now a consultant. And those guys are the other members of our executive committee. So what are we doing for ag? We have an ag magazine, Irrigation Today. We started a few years ago, and that is one way that we're always trying to get new technologies out there directly to the farmer. The majority of the readers and our distribution go to farmers for that magazine. There are also dealers on there as well, but we try and push as much information as possible as we can there. But at the show, this year, we have a couple of areas. We have the new Innovation Hub, and there's going to be a pitch competition. We have 6 new products on the ag side, and I think 4 or 5 on the landscape side, and there'll be judges on Wednesday, I think, is the judging, and Thursday is maybe the announcement, if I have that correctly. You'll have to come to the show to find out exactly. But also it's a good segue for me to share that the new product contest, we are doing virtually again so that we can have more people watch the virtual interviews with the new product contest. So that's a little different. Those products have been on the market for a certain amount of time, and you have to be an exhibitor to participate. Those, you should be getting email blasts about those that are coming up in just 2 weeks. To look at my notes, November 17th and 18th. So that was a good segue to get that plug. But this pitch, they're really startups. They're really innovators. And that one will be going on the show floor. So we're constantly doing that. The one other thing I wanted to add on the ag side is we are probably going to be signing a memorandum of agreement with the Irrigation Innovation Consortium. This is a consortium that's about 3 years old, that is funded by basically the Farm Bill, and the FAR is the organization that gives the money to the Colorado State University, who is the administrator of the program. And we are funding as much ag and a little bit of landscape research as we can annually with that organization. And we are looking to become stronger partners in that area. So more to come on that. They will be also having a program at the show on Thursday afternoon, immediately following the show closing. So lots of stuff going on, and it is our goal to get these new technologies out to ag, to farmers, and get some more market transformation for efficient products.
Yeah, I think that's really great, because I think as we're seeing, existing companies in the irrigation industry are certainly coming out with new technologies and new products, and there's definitely a lane there for them through the new product contest. But it's these, as technology really becomes more prevalent in the irrigation industry, it's technology companies that may not be playing in the irrigation industry finding out, hey, our technology, our innovation can also apply to the irrigation industry, whether that's landscape or ag. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about at the Irrigation Show, is to see how these kind of outside companies or startup companies are kind of entering the irrigation industry and seeing what maybe new outside the box concepts they have to provide. So that's one thing I'm really excited about. So, and I know we're almost out of time here. And yes, for the question on the irrigationshow.org is the website. And John, any final comments for you, for the audience, to welcome folks to meeting you?
No, I don't. Thank you, though, for your support, and we're going to push ahead this next year.
Well, John, I look forward to seeing you in San Diego, and I can't think of anybody better to hand the imaginary gavel that we had through this entire COVID time over to you in December to take over the presidency of this great association.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate everyone on the audience joining us today. And again, irrigationshow.org is the website that has all the information about what we were just speaking about: Innovation Row, Innovation Hub, the new product contest, as well as, of course, the parts that are near and dear to John's heart, all of the education related material for folks attending the show as well. So please visit irrigationshow.org to register. please, looking forward to attending in San Diego. And thank you all for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Coleman.
Thanks, guys.